So far, we have developed decent understanding about Omnet++ environment, how to compile and build a project, how to run it, how to look at it visually, how to make sense out of it by looking deeper into it using sequence charts. Now, we are ready to a fair extent to have a recap through an example. In this module, we shall cover an example of TikTok to understand the process of creation of NED file from C++ libraries to the use of INI file to the launching of the simulation and looking at its sequence chart. So what is actually TikTok? TikTok is a single link communication between two nodes in such a way that the node named Tick starts the transmission process, sends a packet to Talk. When Talk receives it, it echoes it back to Tick. When Tick receives it, it echoes it back to Talk. And this process goes on indefinitely till the time the user stops the simulation process. Using the power of graphical user interface, we start with creation of an empty project. We open the Omnet++ IDE. We go to New Project. We enter a name of the project, say TikTok. We go Next. In the given examples, both of TikTok and the source sync example, we select TikTok. Once we've selected TikTok, we have a new project that is going to build the simulation on an existing example of TikTok with two nodes. Now, in order to understand how the NED file works, go to the Project Explorer, the Simulations folder, open TikTok.ned. When you open this file, it is accessible to you either in graphical mode or in source editing mode. Looking at the code of it, mostly the stuff is self-explanatory. The only thing that you see of interest is that here, two submodules are created from a module called TXC, module Tick, and module Talk. These two modules are declared as submodules in the network TikTok. The connection between these two is established as such that the out of Tick is connected to the in of Talk and vice versa. There is no transmission delay, which is dependent upon the size of the message and the data rate given in the network. Here, for the sake of interest and to build users' excitement, propagation delay is included for this particular connection between these two gates as 100 milliseconds. The TikTok example, NED file that we saw, actually builds or inherits from txc.ned the original NED source file available to us as a module. If we look at its source code, we shall see that this NED file actually inherits the implementation from a C++ file, and here this NED file is declared as a simple module. The parameters here are there's just one parameter, that is send initial message. It's a Boolean function which is declared initially as false here. So the default value is false. Two gates are defined here, the input gate and the output gate. Now, it becomes even more necessary to go a step further and look into the C++ file that we'll find in the source folder. So when we open txc.cc file, we see that this C++ file defines a module txc that txc.ned inherited from. This particular C++ file implements two methods, the initialize method and the handle message method. In the initialize method, we see that it takes Boolean value, the same Boolean value that we saw in the NED file in the last slide, to be false by default. And the handle message method that creates a message, TikTok, if this message is created, it simply sends it and transmits it to the other node. When the other node receives it, it simply echoes back whatever is sent to it, that is, this message of TikTok message in quotes. With NED file done based on C++ file, let's look at the initialization file without which the simulation won't run. This initialization file has to declare the send initial message to true for the simulation to start. When we compile and run it on TK environment, we see that two nodes named Tick and Talk are created. Tick initiates the conversation and Talk echoes back the reply. And this ping pong continues. This is the sequence chart representation of the simulation we just saw. Here we see two simple modules, the white or the hollow circle showing the initialization done by Tick, a propagation delay of 100 milliseconds, reply by Talk of the same message, which is the TikTok message, the reception in the form of the red circle event, which is the received message processing, and this continues.